So we're going to spend a few minutes today really talking about the different approaches to producing results within an organization. Now, I know some of those listening are very committed to doing business the way they always have done business, and that's okay. But today we're going to talk about ways that you can optimize doing business within your own personal practices or when running a team of people to produce more results. So stay tuned, and we're going to jump right to this. So here we have listed on the screen here just a whiteboard discussion about producing results. And we're going to go into each one of these four areas and kind of take a look. So let's start with performance that's based on financial incentive. Now, for many that may be viewing this video, this is very real. Financial performance, or the ability to produce results based on a financial commitment, either something that we're being paid for or we're being penalized for not providing, is very motivating. The reality is, if you want to motivate somebody, adjust their pay, make it more attractive to them to spend more time doing whatever you need them to do. And then everything, accountability, is directly tied to that performance. Utilization then becomes a very personal thing, or perhaps a team thing, but how the staff is utilized, for the most part, isn't as important as long as they're meeting the financial objectives. Now, within a sales maker environment, this is a quota. Within from a user perspective, so from somebody who purchases services, this is a contract. So that contract, and the key here with financial to driving results with a contract, is to establish that contract with very tight functional requirements. Be very scope oriented. As the purchaser of the contract, don't go outside of scope. That's not fair. But as the person who's delivering to that contract, stay on scope. If you do anything less than that, that's not fair. So be able to establish very clearly what those things are. And then from a contracting perspective, make sure that you are incentivizing for performance. So for example, in a U.S. federal environment, that may be a CLIN that is established to drive that performance. So you want to have that done, great. When you get that done, you're going to get paid, and then you're going to move on to the next step. Now that requires a little more contract effort and a little more effort from the individuals that are developing the scope. But in the end, there's no debate on what needs to be done and what I need to do to get paid. And I guarantee you, after decades in this business, that if you associate finances with performance, you don't have to worry about managing their tasks, their utilization, anything, because people will naturally, if they want to get paid, they'll understand what they need to do. So that's probably the number one kind of objective that most people strive to. Let's flip over here to the next one in producing results. But for most of us in many environments, especially inside of business environments, we don't have the luxury of having everything financially bound. Not everything is. We have staff and team members that are not bound financially. So how do we deal with those actions? And how do we optimize that workforce? Get the most from that workforce by driving accountability and utilization. So let's look at some of the practices and models that we use in our everyday life. And one of them is email. And one of them is CC, right? Carbon copy people on email. Have you received an email where there are lots and lots of people associated with that email thread? And the email just is perhaps a forwarding email from somebody else, and it's not really specific or clear what's needed from you as an individual or why you're even on the email. So this is probably the number one waste of time that organizations have. And yes, I apologize if that's offensive to some, but going through your email and CCing everybody on email is a very ineffective way to run an organization. You can't do it. You got to move to the next level. I'm going to show you how to move to that next level, but getting buried in that email is demoralizing to everybody who has to do it. So, and it does not drive the two things that we need to produce results, and that is accountability and utilization. So when we just CC email, it's kind of or just forward email without being specific on what needs to be done, it's kind of the path of least resistance, and it produces the least results. Just because you are going through 1,000 emails a day does not necessarily mean that you're actually producing anything. So we need to be able to, and look at other videos that I have, but we need to be able to quickly define the difference between noise and action, right? Or what I call a discover and action. Everything that's discovering, you're discovering information, it's good to know, read through that quickly through your email, dispose of it, or file it, however you deal with it, and then move on to the action and get directly to those emails that require action, make those tasks, and then you can follow up on them. And we'll talk about kind of what the solution is to the CCing everybody on email shown on the screen, but there is a better way. I promise there is a better way. The second big kind of time suck, I guess, in our organization are meetings. Now, some organizations are better than others. Some, I swear, have meetings just to have more meetings, to figure out what the next meetings are. And I'm sorry you can't see the end of that text, but meetings are the other number one time suck against you producing results. Now, are meetings important? Meetings are important. But meetings have to be specific and focused and driven. A meeting just to have a meeting to talk and you spend hours just going around in circles, that doesn't do anything, right? Meetings are important to provide information, to answer questions, to listen. Absolutely good reasons for a meeting. But if you're sitting in a meeting and you have said nothing and nobody has asked you anything, then you got to sit back and ask yourself, was that time spent worth it? Now, for some individuals, going to meetings is that I don't know, that indicator that they're busy, that they're producing something. It's not. It's like eating carbs, right? You're just not, that Twinkie tastes good perhaps to some, but it's not giving you anything. And meetings where you're sitting in doing nothing is like a Twinkie for you. You're not really getting anything from that meeting. So how do we change that? Really what we want to do is make sure that the meetings that we're in, we're going over assignments and delegations. Now, one challenge as you move into more of an accountable and utilization focused environment is you're going to implement tasks, but we fall back into our old habits. Tasks are designed so that you can specifically drive results. Individually, work on what you've been assigned, get it done, and then collaborate within the task. It all works very, very well. But for some individuals, they don't even want to do that. And that is because they lack the desire to be accounted in most cases. They have a challenge with prioritization. Being accountable is absolutely critical to producing results. Being not accountable to everybody else. Being accountable to you. You as an individual. Absolutely critical to producing results. We have to be able to drive ourselves. We don't need somebody constantly looking over our shoulder telling us, okay, I need you to do this. Now, I will admit, when I served in the Army, one of the greatest things I remember from the Army that honestly I really enjoyed as an individual was that I never worried about what I had to do for the day. Right? I was a lower enlisted member of the military. Somebody was always telling me what to do. And for a couple of years, that worked out very well. I enjoyed it. I look back now where my day is spent just delegating and driving task accountability and completion for myself and for others. You know, I wake up every day wondering what's going to be done today. It's nice not to do that. But tasks allow me to see specifically what I need to do and jump right on it, get right to work. All right, so utilization and accountability, poor when we're attending a lot of meetings. Suggestion here, stop having so many meetings. And when you do have meetings, make them quick and efficient. We're going to meet to answer specific questions, give out specific information, and perhaps follow up on specific tasks. But honestly, if you have a task assigned, individuals should be able to provide that follow-up within the task and not have a meeting at all. So meetings can be good, but we need to be careful with them. All right. Last and not least, what is it that we need to do? So ultimately, what happens with all of these that we've discussed here today? Financial, CCing everybody, having meetings, all of these eventually point to an action, some sort of an action that needs to be done. The answer is not to just forward that as another email message, and we've talked about that. The answer is to create a task with that action and delegate it to others to provide that level of accountability and set those due dates so that you know when that task is going to be done and by whom it is going to be completed. Now, when we delegate tasks and implement task management in our environment, we are, and we're going to walk through these 3 bullets here, we're able to manage our team utilization based on the priorities of the organization, whatever the need of the organization is. And for many organizations, that need could change literally at the beginning of a day or at the end of last night, and now all of a sudden we have to shift focus. Being able to have that agile approach, being able to shift on the dime, is task management. That is what task management is. Because if we're assigned a whole bunch of tasks and we're going down road A, and all of a sudden we need to go down road B, perfect. We stall out our road A tasks and we move on to road B. Those tasks don't go away. We still have them. And when we're ready to go back to road A, we just go back to those tasks and reassign. So we're able to move our resources within our organization more efficiently when we manage through tasks and utilization. Now, proactively review progress. Dashboards are absolutely critical to understanding what everybody's doing. When they're working on hundreds of tasks within an organization or thousands of tasks within an organization, you can develop dashboards as a leader to see what your progress is, first of all, as well as team and then globally an organization's progress. What are we doing to move down that road? Are things being accomplished? I think the biggest question is there a heartbeat? Meaning that, are they actually doing activities that are driving the results that we need to see? Sometimes in organizations, that answer to that question, first of all, can drive us crazy as leaders, but can be very difficult to find that answer when we're not quantifying the work and putting a metric around the work that we're accomplishing. This does not mean that we're heartless and that everything has to be done at a specific date and time. These are all targets, and we can adjust these targets as business need and have mercy and understanding and patience when things don't always go as planned, and we can reschedule those and adjust. And absolutely, we can increase the team focus by limiting those meetings. Take your people out of those useless, those informational meetings where they're not getting anything. Get some meeting notes together and distribute it for people to read. They will get more from that than listening to the idle talk that's going on within the meeting frequently and just the time that's spent having that meeting. They can read that easily within a document and move on and still be focused on the things that they need to accomplish for the mission that you've given them within the organization. So today we've talked about just these really four primary areas of task management and producing results. We've gone over how finance is definitely a motivator, but these CC emails and email, we got to get out of the email, go to action, and we got to get out of these meetings and go to action. Focus your teams on producing results, and I guarantee you that you will have a happier workforce because they're accomplishing and feeling that level of accomplishment, and a more productive workforce in your organization.